Lisa McClain, our conference chair.
Well, good morning, everybody. Here we are again. I'm going to be very clear. Chuck Schumer wants a dirty deal. I'll say it again. Chuck Schumer wants a dirty deal. One that caters to his radical base. You know, the same crowd planning to protest at their I Hate America rally this weekend. And what is in this so-called deal? Let's take a look at what's in Chuck Schumer's dirty deal. Let me spell it out. It adds $1.5 trillion to our national debt. $1.5 trillion. It hands out health care to illegal immigrants. That's not a talking point, that's a fact. It guts the most historic investment Congress has ever made in rural health care. Again, that's a fact. And it weakens health care for hardworking Americans. Begin to see the compare and contrast. Chuck Schumer and the Democrats want to protect illegals and hurt Americans. Republicans, we actually want to do what we were elected to do, and that's take care of Americans. Yesterday, we released a new white paper on the facts, which are actually crystal clear. So we don't need to do political stunts and storm the speaker's office, and we just have the facts on our side. And notice, when you can't beat us on the facts, you have to go to emotion, and you have to go to political stumps, and that's exactly what the Democrats are doing. First, the Democrats' proposal eliminates a cornerstone investment in rural health care, putting hospitals and small-time clinics deeper in financial debt. That's a $50 billion cut to rural America. Second, states like California have played games with federal tax dollars to give benefits to, you guessed it, not Americans, that's right, illegals. Republicans actually closed that loophole, saving taxpayers $190 billion. Again, note the compare and contrast. The Democrat bill would reopen that loophole, and don't let them deny it. Make them own their votes. Make them own their stance. Let me remind you, every single Democrat on the 2020 presidential debate stage raised their hand and said taxpayers should pay for health care for illegals. Every single Democrat. So why are they denying it now? Because they know it's not popular with Americans, right? They are on the record wanting health care for illegals. Own it, Democrats! Say it loud, say it proud. You want to put illegals over Americans. Just own it. I'm going to say it again. They are on the record wanting health care for illegals, and their dirty deal that they lay out in black and white. Finally, Democrats' plan forces taxpayers to cover the majority of emergency medical costs for all non-citizens. Another $28 billion tab for who? You guessed it, the American people. So here's the bottom line. The Democrats' proposal would force taxpayers to fund $119 billion in waste, fraud, and abuse. Yes, that's right. The Democrats advocate for waste, fraud, and abuse. Why? Because it's not their money, it's your hard-earned money, including benefits for people that are here illegally. That weakens health care for Americans. It also defunds rural health care. Again, that weakens health care for who? That's right, it weakens health care for Americans. It is absolutely outrageous. So here's my message to Democrats. Tell all of your radical base you're done taking orders. Tell them you're putting America first. Drop the demands, reopen the government, pass the House bill, and let's get back to work for the American people. Thank you.
From Michigan, Ms. McClain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I happen to agree with my colleague. Actions speak louder than words, and we need action. And that's what I hope that we see here today, not just, in the week leading up to this hearing, we all of a sudden find a conscience and start action. So let me start with you, Dr. Manuel. On October 18th, 23, DePaul Students for Justice in Palestine held a rally calling for the Intifada revolution, encouraging terrorist attacks to be perpetuated against Jewish civilians. On the same day, Jewish student leaders contacted DePaul administrators expressing feelings of saying they were increasingly scared that the safety and for the safety of the Jewish community. Does that ring a bell? Okay. The following day, October 19th, 2023, pro-Hamas rallies on campus resulted in the physical assault of a Jewish student. Sound familiar? 6 months later, on April 29th, 24, a pro-Palestinian and pro-Hamas mob occupied DePaul's Lincoln Park campus. So there was an encampment on April 29th, correct?
Correct.
Did you remove it or disable it on that day?
No, we did not.
Okay. Why?
Representative, we learned an awful lot from...
I'm not asking what you learned. I'm asking why you made the decision, because I'm going to refer you to your policy that you have in place. Why didn't you follow your policy?
Our immediate instinct was to work with our students. The reference...
How'd that go?
Not very
You
well.
want to ask Michael how that went?
Yeah, it did not go very well.
Thank you.
And I apologize for that.
Your apologies are a little hollow. On May 10th, you issued a statement. So the encampment's still there, April 29th. It's now May 10th. On May 10th, you issued a statement titled Quad Safety Concerns. So you knew there was a safety issue, hence issuing the statement. Here was the statement. You urged all members of the DePaul community to avoid the quad. Well, that's great. Again, hey, let's make sure that we attack the law-abiding citizens, but not deal with the problem of the encampment. So you knew yourself there was a problem, but decided not to remove it. Why?
So that at that moment, we realized that the security and safety of everybody was in jeopardy. That is the moment that we decided to work with CPD.
And it took you 6 days?
Our public safety officer...
I mean, no, it took you 6 days because you knew it was dangerous. You didn't remove it on the 10th. You didn't remove it until 6 days later. So it took you 6 days to coordinate an effort to remove an encampment?
It took us the moment we realized, we went to CPD and asked for
Which
their
was
help.
when? When did you realize you had a problem?
We started working with CPD from the first day so that they were aware of those
Okay,
situations.
so 3 weeks. It took you 3 weeks?
It took us from the time you mentioned until the 16th or 17th to coordinate with CPD to get
You think that's acceptable?
I do not. And
Okay,
what we
wonderful,
learned-
wonderful, wonderful. So I don't think the issue is more policies. I think the issue is action. So the people that are in charge, would you say that that is an acceptable amount of time for action?
I would agree with you that we need to do better.
Great. So would you agree with me also that almost 3 weeks from the 29th to the 16th is not an acceptable time for security to take action to disassemble an encampment? Would you agree with me on that?
I would. And
Thank you very much. So who has been fired or who has been replaced? Because that doesn't seem real tough to me. Anybody?
what we have learned,
Anybody been replaced?
there has been turnover. It's not
I'm not
because of
asking
this.
turnover. What consequences happened for the people who were supposed to be in charge?
The development of our accountability
Any
culture.
consequences? Yeah, were there, let's start with a simple,
retraining.
let's start with a simple one. Any consequences?
To student groups, yes.
Not just, I'm talking to the people who didn't follow your procedures of 3 weeks. Because let me just read it, just in case you don't know your policy, but let me read it. This is from your policy. May not impede passage or in or out of any facility, may not involve activity that is violent or otherwise threatens the safety of demonstrators or any members of the community, may not interfere with business or academics of the university. These are your policies did anyone get like reprimanded for that?
What I mentioned is that we have done significant review and learned from this.
You don't need to do
accountability is
review. Was anyone held accountable other than Michael and his friend that sustained a concussion and a broken wrist? So what actions changed? Because you got great policies and you got great lip service. The problem is you need action. And unless you as the president of the university is willing to take action, not lip service, I can talk about working out all day long, but there's a lot difference between me working out and me talking about it. So my question is, if there is another encampment on that, are you taking? Well, Happy New Year, everyone. On behalf of the House Republican Conference, it is my honor to kick off the first leadership stakeout of this year, and we're excited as Republicans. Democrats have made the bed that they lie in, and they need to own their decisions every single day. Just recently, President Biden has been pardoning sex offenders, decreasing domestic energy, and forgiving even more student loan debt as he leaves his post. We need, as Republicans, to fight against this record of corruption and bad policies. Dems need to own this insanity. This is their mess, but we will clean it up. And fortunately, there is a better path forward. And it's a very stark contrast. But the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans is that our agenda is about opportunity, freedom, prosperity, and putting America first, while their agenda is about control, dependence, and America last. We have an opportunity for a massive political realignment, and we are excited about that. We have a unified Republican government that wants to put America first again. We also won on building diverse coalitions, and I'm committed to doubling down on these efforts as conference chairwoman. We ran on a political platform that is about being accountable to the people. The Democrats alienated the working class, while the Republicans proved we want to be the party of the bigger tent. We want more investments in America. We want energy independence again, not an increased reliance on foreign countries that hate us and hate what we stand for. We want to make our country safer. Today, the House is expected to vote on the Lincoln-Riley Act for people like Congressman Addison McDowell. The southern border is very personal, and he's going to speak. Unfortunately, he is perfectly equipped to talk about illegal immigration and why this matters in every community, not just the border states. And I'll turn it now over to Congressman Addison McDowell for some remarks. Thank you. Oh boy, I'm still, one of these days I'm going to bring my stool. Jeez. Good morning, everyone. How are you? Can you feel the excitement in the air? I mean, I was actually walking around in the bitter cold, partially because I couldn't get an Uber, but people are smiling, right? They're in a good mood. It's quite refreshing. And I think they're doing that because they know it's a new day in America. Monday was a celebration for most Americans. However, not everyone is happy about the direction that our country is headed, which is actually disappointing. For example, yesterday at the National Prayer Service, the bishop was extreme in her views, extremely out of line and out of touch. And what she did was uncalled for. Perhaps we should pray for her. Why should anyone block or be opposed to President Trump's agenda? The American people expect us to deliver on the mandate in which they've given us. The days of negativity are over. That's why President Trump and House Republicans have already started to keep our promises. Promises to secure the border and unleash American energy and drain the swamp. Promises made promises kept. Together, we will make America great again. President Trump started this. On day one, he signed 41 executive orders on his very first day in office. House Republicans will continue to deliver more wins for America. President Trump is even taking, get this, unfiltered questions from you all, the press. I think he's been more available in his first 24 to 48 hours than President Biden was in maybe his whole presidency. It's time for a change, and you better get used to it because America is back. Trump is back, and we're happy about it. And Democrats don't know what to do. For years, they've campaigned on the opposite of our agenda. Now President Trump is more popular than ever, and they're searching for their message. Well, my message to them is that it's not too late to join us in restoring America and American prosperity. This week, we will give them another opportunity to do just that. An opportunity to fix our forests and prevent future tragedies. We will give them an opportunity to advocate for born alive babies. I hope they join us. Instead of voting against women like they did last week, I will share with you America is watching, and America is excited and happy about what they see. They know that our best days are ahead. And now I will turn it over from the gentleman from Colorado, Jeff Hurd. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you are all doing well, and welcome to sunny Florida. Thanks for the weather, Mario. Yeah. Yesterday, we saw leadership and American exceptionalism on full display thanks to President Trump. I mean, think about it. President Trump, I don't even think, had finished the front nine before he successfully forced the Colombian president to take back their illegal immigrants. The days of America being walked all over are long gone, thanks to President Trump. Which brings us here today to the Sunshine State, the home of the 47th President Donald J. Trump. Here, there is a prosperous economy, beautiful sunshine, and endless freedom. And why are we here in Florida? Because Florida was critical in delivering a decisive victory for President Trump and House Republicans. And tonight, we will celebrate that historic victory alongside of our president. We are in a very heavily Hispanic area with a very diverse culture. Broad and diverse coalitions that support the GOP America First vision. These coalitions support our agenda because we listened, and we are giving them what they want for them and their families. We put them and their families first, not illegals. We promised that if they gave us the majority, we would lower costs and make their communities safer. And I'm confident that President Trump and House Republicans will continue to listen and deliver on those promises, putting Americans first. And I'm so excited to work with the President, Chairman Hudson, and many others to grow our majority. I will now turn it over to our fearless Chairman, Chairman Hudson. You don't have to stand on the box. Good? Not quite as good as yesterday. The sun was shining yesterday, and it was a little nicer. But thank you all for being here. And I want to open the press conference today with a question. What is a woman? Ask the Democrats, and they'll probably tell you they don't know. I bring this up because today is National Girls in Women's Sports Day. House Republicans kept our promise. We passed a bill. I know it's hard to believe that we had to pass this bill, but we passed a bill to prevent biological males from freely walking into girls' locker rooms. It's ridiculous that we had to do it, but here we are. Democrats would rather allow men to compete in girls' sports than protect our little girls. They are truly out of touch with reality. And for those that support this insanity, you're allowed to live in your distorted reality. But that doesn't mean I have to live in your distorted reality. And our girls don't need to live in your distorted reality either. We fought for 50 years for women's rights. Now Democrats want to undo it. I can assure you that will not happen under my watch. House Republicans are committed to putting a stop to this madness. We are the party of common sense. The difference between the Democrats and the Republicans is that our agenda is about opportunity, about freedom, and about putting America first, while their agenda is about control, dependence, and America last. I thank Congressman Greg Steube and many others for their leadership on passing this legislation. Now, let's turn our attention to the fentanyl crisis at the border. President Trump has made serious movement towards ending this. He worked with 2 allies to stop the flow of deadly fentanyl from entering our country. The days of America getting walked all over, my friends, those days are gone. In just his second week, President Trump's deals with Canada and Mexico show his effectiveness. We finally have a president where his actions match his words. His ability to negotiate has saved lives. He's keeping the promise that he put forth to the American people. He's getting results, promises made, promises kept. And the House will follow his actions. We will pass a bill to increase the penalties for trafficking, particularly fentanyl-related substances. We sincerely hope the Democrats will join House Republicans in voting yes, in voting this week on the HALT Fentanyl Act. Last time, more than 100 Democrats voted against this bill. We'll see if they've changed their tune. They have a choice to save lives today. I applaud Congressman Griffin and Latta for advancing this life-saving legislation. And now, I'd like to turn it over to a colleague and a friend of mine, Monica Dela Cruz. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Ready for Snowmageddon? Question is, are we going to get it today or not? We were supposed to get a bunch of snow last week and we didn't, but... Well, come on. Hey, that's for later.
The shots are coming.
Jeez. No. Thank you all for being here. Republicans are making America secure and competitive. This week, we will pass 2 bills, one that could help deport illegal aliens who threaten our security. The other will reverse some burdensome regulations. Meanwhile, instead of joining us in making America secure and competitive, deranged Democrats are accosting security guards outside federal buildings, interfering with ICE deporting illegal aliens, and even providing instructions on how to evade deportation. And guess what they say is the new constitutional crisis? Ending taxpayer funding for sex changes in Guatemala and other outrageous initiatives. Give me a break. Come on. 77 million people rejected the insanity last November, and they still are defending it. Hopefully, they will continue to defend this insanity. Speaking of defending insanity, the government is bloated. President Trump and House Republicans will right-size it. We want to make America more competitive, and the left is outraged. Why aren't they outraged when a father of 4 gets laid off because of government overreach? Most people never get the option to have a buyout when their business is forced to close. But when it's a government employee making north of six figures who doesn't even show up to the office, Democrats lose their minds. They didn't seem to mind when Democrat President Bill Clinton offered thousands of federal employee buyouts. Millions of Americans are cheering for these cuts to waste, fraud, and abuse. Only extreme Democrats seem to have issue with it. Additionally, those millions of Americans are cheering for President Trump's tariff negotiations. It has proven his effectiveness in this arena time and time again, and this one will be no different. President Trump is sending a message to the world, and it's really simple. Compete fairly or pay the price. His negotiations will level the playing field and make America competitive again. Now, turning our attention to this week, another key issue House Republicans are focused on is making America secure. The House will honor the life of fallen Border Patrol officer Raul Gonzalez. The bill, named after him, would prevent illegal immigrants who flee Border Patrol from ever being admitted into the United States. Officer Gonzalez lost his life in a high-speed chase near the border. He was chasing fleeing illegal immigrants. Let me be clear. Illegal immigrants who flee Border Patrol should never get a green card. It is unfortunate that 154 Democrats disagreed when they voted against this similar bill last Congress. They are voting against America's security. But they have another chance, because this week we will pass the Agent Raul Gonzalez Officer Safety Act with or without their support. It is a shame that Democrats want to reward these illegal criminals. But while Republicans want to detain, deport, and keep them from threatening our communities, we will do just that. This is common sense legislation. And if you cross the border illegally and cause harm during a high-speed chase, you should never be admitted to the United States or offered asylum. This bill sends a message to illegal aliens, drug traffickers, and smugglers, the bad guys. You threaten the American lives, and you will face the full consequences of the law. We must protect our law enforcement officers. 6 other agents died that same year, as Officer Raul Gonzalez did. Imagine for a moment getting that call that your loved one wouldn't be returning home because they were chasing someone who was here illegally. And then, to top it off, the illegal aliens that they were chasing were allowed to stay here. It's terrible. It's disgusting. And it won't continue. Who in their right mind could support this? We will find out later this week. And I would suggest maybe the Democrats that vote against this bill can start calling the loved ones of the fallen officers. Perhaps that's a good idea. And maybe that would change their mind. I'm not sure if it would. Now we're going to hear from a member who knows firsthand the devastating impact of the border crisis. Another patriot wanting to make America secure. And now I turn it over to my friend, Rep. Abe Hamadeh from Arizona. Good morning, everyone. I want to start with last week. Videos of protesters yelling at members of Congress went viral, right? But the content focused on the confrontation, not the why. Some of the people that hijacked those town halls are happy with the bloated status quo. They want the bloated status quo to continue. They don't want to get our country back on track. And to make matters worse, even the DNC chair openly suggested that the outrage at the town halls across the country was orchestrated. But here's the truth. getting us out of nearly $37 trillion in debt, it's not going to be easy. President Trump and the White House Republicans have started the conversation on wasteful government spending, and 77 million voices outweighed those voices at the town halls. We got our marching orders. We listened to the American people, and they told us they wanted change. And buckle up, because that's exactly what we're giving them. And our friends on the other side of the aisle, please keep going down the path of defending and even advocating for government waste, fraud, and abuse. The message they all are sending is clear, and we see whose side they're on. Look no further than their newest messaging strategy. The minority leader unveiled it last week. It's called Share Your Story. Can you guess whose story they're sharing? It's government employees, like a locksmith from Yosemite National Park. Not the stories of lives lost due to illegal immigration. They're not asking to share those stories. Not the stories of innocent lives that were lost due to fentanyl that came from across the border. Not the stories of hardworking Americans struggling to make ends meet. Democrats are sharing the stories of government employees. And this sad attempt of fear-mongering that makes Democrats look even more deranged. It is absolutely insane that they think making government work more efficiently is a bad thing. Remember that government efficiency is a constitutional crisis in the Democrats' minds. They continue to defend and advocate for waste, fraud, and abuse. They don't want it to stop. Democrats are ignoring the American people and siding with the swamp. They keep defending DEI employees and USAID, while Republicans fight the bloated and inefficient bureaucracy, and we fight it for the American people. For years, we've heard about delays at the IRS, lost Social Security checks, mistreatment at the VA. Did the Democrats do anything about it? Did they set up a listening session to have people tell their stories? No. I think they only care about Washington and bloated bureaucracy in D.C. It is truly a shame, despite the American taxpayers' wishes. They're doubling down on the broken system, and they are the ones that broke it. While Democrats keep displaying their derangement, telling out-of-touch stories, let's talk about those who can't tell their stories. Like Lincoln Riley, who was raped and murdered by an illegal alien. Did the Democrats tell their story? How about Zach Cullen, who died of fentanyl poisoning? Did the Democrats set up a hotline to listen to their stories? Or how about a pastor in Michigan, Stephen Singleton, who was killed by an illegal immigrant? Did they tell their stories? No. And you know why? They can't tell their stories because they're dead. Yet Democrats are soliciting sob stories from bloated bureaucrats with six-figure salaries. Give me a break. Now, it's time for us to tell our story. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to turn our attention to this week. House Republicans will focus on saving lives and taxpayer dollars. Then President Trump has been clear. He wants one big, beautiful bill that unlocks his full agenda, not just part of it, everything. And that's what our one big, beautiful bill does. This week, House Republicans will take the next steps in the process to deliver President Trump's full agenda. The House budget resolution invests in border security and our national defense. It also saves taxpayer dollars by rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse. It will encourage investment in the energy industry to increase production and to actually lower costs. If we don't pass this bill, Americans will suffer the largest tax increase in history. The Budget Committee passed it with unanimous GOP support. And remember, this is just the starting point to unlock the process. After the resolution passes, committees will begin the real work. The work to find savings and create investments. Savings in our budget to make America competitive, and investments to make our country secure. That's what the president and the American people want. And who would go against their agenda? We're helping the president keep his promise because the American people gave us a decisive mandate. Secure the border. Unleash American energy, restore peace through strength, and make America competitive again. If we remain united, we can pass this transformational legislation. And when we do, we will be remembered as the most successful conference in American history. I will now turn it over to Rep. Tim Moore from North Carolina to speak about the budget as he serves on the Budget Committee. Thank you. Cold.
It's a new podium. Look at that.
I know. You guys are trying to hide me behind it. It's not very freezing cold. Oh, come on. I know. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Let's start off by the deranged Democrats are living in a distorted reality. Over the weekend, the minority leader told CNN, and I quote, "President Trump is not focused on solving the problems of everyday Americans." I can't believe the minority leader would say this, but he did. The irony about the minority leader's comments is President Trump is solving the problems of everyday Americans. For example, the comment comes after Democrats voted against securing our border and making our communities safe. Meanwhile, President Trump has secured our borders. He has only been in office for less than 2 months. And in the Democrats' distorted reality, President Trump is to blame for all the world's problems. He inherited these problems, when in reality, Democrats are the ones who caused the problems. Illegal aliens flooded our borders because Democrats kept them open. Democrats let killers like Jose Ibarra come into our communities. And Democrats keep voting against fixing these problems. Let's be clear. But I can share with you, times they are a-changin'. Common sense has been restored. Illegal border crossings were the lowest ever recorded last month. How's that by taking care of the American people's problems? Our communities are actually safer. President Trump is keeping his promises that he made to the American people. After 4 years of silence and shadows from Joe Biden and the Democrats, President Trump has restored accountability and transparency at the White House. He's actually answering unscripted questions from the press. Americans actually see the president working for them daily. This is a stark contrast from the past 4 years. And Americans are actually excited. President Trump is turning our country around. He is reversing the damage caused by Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the deranged Democrats. I expect Americans will notice the new direction of the nation when we hear from our commander-in-chief this evening. In his first joint address since returning to the White House, President Trump's message to the American people will be clear. America is back. There's no doubt about that. Thanks to President Trump's, America is strong again. Terrorists are actually on notice. Our enemies and adversaries actually fear and respect us again, especially our allies. America will no longer be taken advantage of. This was made clear in the Oval Office on Friday. So let's be clear. The war in Ukraine started while Joe Biden was president. I just got to remind everyone of those facts. And President Trump is the president that's actually trying to end it. So one president starts the war, the other president actually tries to end the war. He inherited this mess from Biden. I know the Democrats want you to forget about that, but every once in a while we have to reset that playing field and remind people. In less than 2 months, President Trump has restored peace through strength and turned the page on Biden's blunders on the world stage. But that's just one of his many accomplishments. President Trump is working at an unprecedented pace. He's putting America and its people first. That's exactly what we just heard from our Secretary of Defense. The president's efforts to rid the Department of Defense of DEI has been profoundly positive. Soldiers are actually excited to be focused on the actual mission, lethality and preparedness, not weakness and wokeness. The president is rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse of taxpayer dollars at the Pentagon. As I mentioned, he returned to the White House and has set Democrats into complete and utter disarray. They have no vision, no plan, and no leader. They only have one thing to offer the American people, and that's fear-mongering. This has caused a messaging crisis in the Democratic Party. They are clearly scrambling. The main goal is to be against, for the Democrats, their main goal is to be against what 77 million American people want. And the House Republicans are calling them out for it. Look no further than tomorrow's Oversight Committee hearing on sanctuary cities. Democrats' radical policies will be on full display, and I encourage you all to watch. Americans will be reminded that Democrats protect killers, rapists, and drug dealers who find safe haven in sanctuary cities. For example, a Sudanese national who was convicted of raping a victim under 13 years old, a Mexican national convicted of a criminal sexual conduct on a victim under 13 years old. Both were arrested by ICE in St. Paul, Minnesota, a sanctuary city. And what do deranged Democrats in Minnesota have to say? They say, well, targeting criminal illegal immigrants threatens their safe spaces. Threatens the safe spaces of whom? Listen to what the Democrats are saying. Instead of showing empathy, they are siding with and protecting criminals, violent, illegal, alien criminals. Meanwhile, Republicans actually stand with the victims. We actually stand for legal. We actually stand for law and order. What about the American people's safe spaces? Do they count? House Republicans will hold these mayors accountable. Refusing to cooperate with immigration law puts communities and Americans in danger. But it doesn't stop there. Even in the U.S. House of Representatives, deranged Democrats hold briefings and post videos on how to avoid ICE. That's pretty American, huh? They are literally helping criminal, illegal immigrants. This is a result of having no vision for the American people. But I'm here to share with you Americans can be optimistic because real leadership returned to the White House. Leadership in our country that our country desperately needs. The leadership 77 million Americans voted for. Together, President Trump and House Republicans will stop sanctuary cities. Sanctuary city policies are wreaking havoc on our communities, like the ones Representative Gabe Evans represents in the northern Denver suburbs. Rep. Evans has joined us today to help tell the local stories, like the story of the Trende D'Agua who took over an apartment complex in the Denver suburbs. They used it to kidnap and torture people at gunpoint. Not real good people. It's a shame that this is happening in America. But I'll turn it over now to Gabe to let him tell his story. Together.
Well branded.
I know. Box.
Good. Very good.
Whoever's got a hockey logo on the front. Making sure you would shout it.
Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well this morning. Let's be real on a couple things. President Trump could have the cure for cancer, and the Democrats would still be upset. Democrats are personality-based, not policy-based. They never talk about the policies. It's only the person. Look no further than their latest liberal lunacy. A year ago, the left loved the electric vehicle. Remember? We're going to get rid of all ICE engines. You gotta have an electric vehicle, right? Now what are they doing? They're vandalizing the electric vehicle. Now, what I find is very interesting, though, is some of these very same cars are owned and driven by the Democrats, people in their own party. I mean, that is Democrat on Democrat crime if I've ever seen it. Now, this shows their playbook and, unfortunately, their values. Attack the person, not the policy. Which brings me to this. Before Democrats begin their next fear-mongering campaign, let me set the record straight. Last week, President Trump signed an executive order to improve our country's education. Republicans want the best outcomes for students, and so does President Trump. The president simply asked the secretary to work with Congress to come up with a plan to put students first, not the bloated bureaucracy, teachers' unions, or Randy Weingarten. Like the rest of the federal government, the U.S. Department of Education needs to be run efficiently and effectively. We should focus the dollars on the students, not the administrators. I mean, despite billions of dollars being spent year after year, and every year we spend more, what happens to our outcomes? The test scores have not improved. They've gone the opposite direction. The Department of Education has received more funding every year despite lower outcomes. The American people are paying more and getting less. We can't keep dumping more money into a broken system. Our goal is to make the education system better and better for students. Democrats are telling more lies. Their lies about Medicaid have already been debunked, and these education talking points should be debunked too. Now, shifting gears to what else happened during recess. I don't know if you noticed, but Democrats had held a Medicaid day of action, right? All got together, big day of action. But unfortunately, they missed the real day of action when they voted to shut the government down. They voted against Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security recipients. They voted against paying our service members, and they voted against funding WIC. They also voted against the American people. This led to a complete meltdown by the Democratic Party, and when asked repeatedly whether he has confidence in Senator Schumer, House Minority Leader, took days to decide. Others have publicly ridiculed Senator Schumer. Listen to some of their own comments. Quote, Schumer is supposed to be the leader of the opposition, not a rank-and-file member of the GOP. Another one, and I quote, I think it's a huge slap in the face, and I think there's a wide sense of betrayal. And some even called for Senator Schumer's resignation. Again, Democrats don't have a clear leader, and recent polls prove this. When asked who best reflects the core values of the Democratic Party, there was no clear answer. 10% said AOC. She got the highest number of votes. 9% said Kamala Harris, 8% said Bernie Sanders, and Rep. Crockett, a chosen Your Fighter participant, tied former President Obama with 4%. During recess, I expected to see Schumer and Jeffries proving to the country that they are the leaders of the party. But do you know who filled the void for them? Governor Walz, Rep. AOC, and Senator Bernie Sanders. It seems that the extreme socialists are the leaders of the Democratic Party. And they took their message nationwide. Socialists are defining the Democrats' identity amidst the leadership void. I bet this leads to more Democratic infighting, fear-mongering, of course, and advocacy for even more an extreme agenda. The Democrats will do this while their party's favorability rating is at an all-time low. Gee, I wonder why. Meanwhile, Republicans are united behind President Trump and the American people's agenda. And I'll say that again. We are united around President Trump and the American people's agenda. Americans are optimistic. Americans believe the country is headed in the right direction. Republicans are getting the country back on track. This is thanks to President Trump and Republicans' efforts to restore common sense. And it's not a coincidence that President Trump's approval rating is reaching all-time highs. And approval of House representatives is moving upwards as well. House Republicans are securing the border, we are protecting women, and we are passing legislation to lower costs for American families. We kept the government open, and our day of action was voting to protect Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security recipients. And House Republicans passed our House budget resolution, and the Senate should pass it too. And I'll share with you, we are just getting started, so buckle up. And because we have a long way to go and a lot more wins on the horizon. And here to speak about the House Republicans' work is freshman Representative Pat Harrington from North Carolina. He's a combat veteran and a small business entrepreneur, and he's going to give his perspective on working in the unified House GOP. Welcome, Pat.
Thank you.
Oh.
Need some caulk?
Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Today marks 100 days of President Trump's second term, and I am honored that he has chosen to celebrate in my home state of Michigan. There's no better place to celebrate 100 days than in Macomb County, Michigan. The first 100 days proves that we are headed in the right direction, the direction in which 77 million people voted for. Just look at the White House lawn today. Pictures of violent, illegal aliens that Biden let into our country. These rapists, murderers, and child molesters have no home here in the United States of America. And guess what? There's room on the White House lawn for a lot more of them. And that's what the American people voted for. And we are going to keep going until every single one of them is removed to make our streets for Americans safer. Thankfully, there's a lot less of those illegals coming in now, because apprehensions at the border are down 94%. And Border Patrol averaged the lowest daily nationwide apprehensions in history. President Trump is taking action, and Congress is passing border security bills. We've sent a message. The border is closed. Now, on the other hand, Democrats' message is open borders and literally putting violent MS-13 gang members before the American people. That's their message. Look no further than their recent trip to El Salvador, one of which was funded with, yes, taxpayer dollars. Instead of meeting with their constituents, Democrats catered to MS-13 gang members. Not the family of Rachel Morin or the family of Lincoln Riley. No. They would rather have MS-13 gang members who entered our country illegally brought back to the United States. That is the Democratic Party. Own it. On numerous occasions, They have sided with violent illegal aliens and gang members. Democrats are doubling down on their failed agenda. Why? Because they have no plan, no vision, and no leader. Or maybe they do. Maybe their next leader is in MS-13. Meanwhile, House Republicans, we have our leader. And that leader is our president, Donald Trump. He's unleashed American energy, taken out terrorists, and restored common sense by protecting women's sports. And he's achieved all of this in his first 100 days. Now, turning our attention to our business and our work this week, committees have been instructed, and we will begin to pass pieces of that one big, beautiful bill. We will identify savings and investments that will make America secure and competitive. Now, as we continue our committee work, I encourage you to watch the markups very, very closely. You will see Democrats go on the record supporting the largest tax increase in American history. Benefits for illegal immigrants and violent gang members, because that's who they support. And Democrats want the destruction of American energy and the American energy industry and the good paying jobs that come with that industry. And before Democrats begin their fear mongering, which we know they'll do, let me be clear. The only cuts that this bill makes are to the waste, the fraud, and the abuse that are in their bloated bureaucracy. And somehow, Democrats will have a problem with those. They ignore the fact of what the American people want. The American people want lower taxes. The American people want good-paying jobs. They want a safe and secure and, most of all, competitive America. That's why House Republicans will continue our work this week to put Americans first and make America safe and secure again. While Democrats who are lost and leaderless fear-monger and fight against the American people's agenda, we will get to work to pass that one great, big, beautiful. Sensitive. Well, good morning, everybody. House Republicans just finished hearing from our president, and he delivered a clear message. And that message was, get the job done. Everyone in that room agreed we will deliver this victory for the president and, more importantly, for the American people. The stakes are too high, and we will not miss our chance. Now, switching gears to news that broke over the weekend, the American people are smart, but we already knew that. When the Biden-Hur tapes were released on Friday, it proved that Democrats hid and lied about Biden's condition. The American people knew they were being lied to, and this week, I hope no one takes the Democrats' bait or the Democrats' word for anything, especially when they keep lying and fear-mongering about the one big, beautiful bill. We will not let them get away with their lies. And I hope you all ask them about the tapes this week, too. Really interesting. Contrast that with House Republicans who will remain on offense this week as we advance our one great big beautiful bill. We will pass this transformational legislation for the families who just lost loved ones to the border crisis. Families like Lincoln Riley and Rachel Morin, who were both killed by violent, illegal immigrants, like Zach Cullen, who lost his life to fentanyl, and Agent Raul Gonzalez, who lost his life pursuing an illegal immigrant near the border. This historic opportunity to secure our border and make our communities safer. This bill provides technology to improve border enforcement. This bill provides resources to support border patrol agents that they so desperately need. This bill provides funding to deport more violent illegal immigrants and materials to finish the wall. We have an opportunity right now before us to make generational investments in the safety of our communities. Let's close the floodgates and remove those that never should have been here in the first place. But let's not forget some of what other wins are in our bill and what's at stake, like the people and the mom and pops, the businesses that are facing historic tax increase if we don't get this bill done. They will not survive if we don't pass this bill. And those on Medicaid who need it strengthened, sustained, and secured. It's time we put them first, not illegal immigrants. That's what we promised the people, and that's what we intend to deliver, to put the American people first. And the One Big Beautiful Bill delivers on those priorities. And I know every single House Republican will be proud of its passage, because when it's all said and done, history will remember that Republicans put Americans first, and the Democrats didn't. And now I would like to turn it over to our chairman, Mark Green.
Just making sure.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is noon, right? Listen, 6 months ago to the day, I spoke on the House floor about my optimism for America's future. I was optimistic because the American people gave Republicans a historic opportunity, an opportunity to enact the largest tax cut in American history, to finally secure our borders and unleash American energy, an opportunity to put America first again. Well, I am proud to say, House Republicans, we delivered. And thanks to the work of the House Republican Conference and our president, President Donald J. Trump, Americans have certainty. They will keep more money in their pockets and have the safety and security that they deserve. House Republicans remained unified. No one thought we could do it. Everybody doubted us, didn't they, Mr. Speaker? Right? They doubted us. But here we are again. Mr. Whip, what are we, 6-0?
Yeah, nobody in this room doubted us.
No, nobody here doubted us. But we are unified. We delivered on our promises to the American people. No taxes on tip. No taxes on overtime, tax relief to seniors, enhanced child care tax credits, elimination of the death tax, more ICE agents. We're finishing the border wall and funding the Golden Dome. And for all the fear-mongering that goes out there from the Democrats, we actually secured Medicaid for those who need it most. Vulnerable Americans, pregnant women, and the disabled. Compared to the Democrats, who would rather give Medicaid to illegal aliens and MS-13 members. Democrats are fear-mongering because they have no vision, no plan, and no leader. But guess what? We have a leader. And our leader is President Donald Trump. And lastly, let's not forget that actual fiscal sanity is being restored. Because of our work, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act is headed to the president's desk for signature. And today marks the end of the waste, the fraud, and the abuse of American taxpayers' dollars. It marks the end of higher gas prices, the end of higher energy costs and higher grocery bills. And because of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, Joe Biden's border crisis is over. Listen, I applaud my colleagues who worked tirelessly. I don't think the speaker and the whip and the leader have slept in days. But they've worked tirelessly to ensure that we actually delivered on our promises. And I thank President Trump for his leadership in getting this bill across the finish line. Without his leadership, none of this would have been possible. His vision, none of this would have been possible. But today, we passed actual transformational legislation that will impact every family. Tomorrow, we celebrate our nation's independence, and we set out to spread the message of this historic achievement. But today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to celebrate. President Trump and the American people's agenda has been delivered.
Lisa McClain.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. Again, here we are. Yesterday, Americans woke up to an unthinkable reality. And Carlos touched on it earlier. A communist was elected mayor in America's largest city. How did this happen? Ask yourself, how did this happen? It happened because a small socialist portion of this country took control of the Democrat Party. A party that is now apparently united behind a socialist agenda. And slogans always seem to start with the same word: free. Free food, free rent, free buses, right? I feel like I'm at an Oprah Winfrey show. You get a car and you get a car. Well, this isn't the Oprah Winfrey show. And like many of you, my parents taught me a really good lesson when I was young. Nothing is free. Everything comes with a cost. Absolutely nothing is free. We all learned that. Look no further than the Democrats' disastrous shutdown plan. They want to give free health care to illegals. Come to our country. We'll give you, illegally mind you, we'll give you free health care on the backs of hard-working Americans. And in demanding that, they're asking for $1.5 trillion in wasteful spending and a painful shutdown. A shutdown that has denied food assistance to 42 million American families. 42 million American families. A shutdown that has forced law enforcement to work without pay. But don't worry, I'm sure those law enforcement agents can go and get free food from their local grocery store, and somebody will pay their free rent, right? Yeah, I live in reality, not fantasy. The Democrats want to jeopardize our national security. And now, flights have been reduced by 10% at 40 of our major airports. I think air traffic, like when you get on a plane, what's next? Like your plane rides are going to be free too? I mean, why stop at food and buses? Let's just give everything free. It doesn't work like that, people. Nothing's free. Somebody is paying. And who pays? Anybody want to guess who pays? Hardworking taxpayers, American taxpayers. That's who pay. Nothing's free, right? Nothing is free. Look at your Republican leaders. Just compare and contrast. That's why we voted more than a month ago to actually fund the government. That's why we've been working in our districts to help those that are suffering. And that's why we are delivering real results that drive down gas prices and drive down mortgage rates and drive down the price of eggs. No one's reporting on the price of eggs anymore, right? Now, not for illegals, not for radicals, and not for communists who despise this country. but for the men and women who love America, like Carlos and his family who came over. And let's keep it that way. And let's make sure that we keep America strong every day. So to the Democrats, let me be clear. Republicans will still be there when your communist lawmakers aren't. And when your communist kingmakers finally give you permission to put Americans first again, Republicans will still be here. We'll still be here when your socialist experiment collapses, because it always does. And we'll still be standing shoulder to shoulder with the hardworking Americans who aren't demanding free groceries, free buses, free rent. No, we will be standing shoulder to shoulder, demanding nothing less than freedom. That is what Republicans demand, freedom. Because that's what makes this country great. Not socialism, not government control, but freedom. Thank you.
All right, question